another question as it relates to setting up and nationalizing the legacy account.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell me how long that process is before I'm able to actually use it?
It's going to vary from one more to the next. It depends on your ability to state what should happen with the account. I can assist you in expediting it by pointing you to a particular. So for USAA, what I did was I pulled up the depository agreement. Let me just take a look at that. They have a depository agreement. And so what I did is pull that up. And then what I did, Empress, was I went ahead and I crafted the check. Let's say the check for $27,777.75. I just picked that amount because that is how much the postmaster is paid per month. So I wrote the check, and once I wrote the check, I created the check first, then I wrote it, and then I mailed it according to our government mailing process. Well, what happened at that time was they sent back a substitute check. And at the time, I didn't know what to do with a substitute check. I didn't even know, I had never heard of a substitute check. So then when I did the demonstration, I looked up substitute check and found that a substitute check is to be treated as the original. So you would take the substitute check for, it doesn't matter how much it's for, and you use that check as you would the regular check. Okay? So a substitute check is a paper copy of an original check that is created using images of the front and back. It is a negotiable instrument that's used in banking to represent a physical paper check. It says the Check 21 Act allows banks to create the substitute check. Substitute checks are the legal equivalent of the original check. So what they did was take something lawful, the instrument that I created, and they said, okay, let's make this so that it fits into the legal system. So now I was not going to use their legal substitute check. What I did was I printed it out, and then I had to authenticate it. That's called a real authentication. They sent one in the mail. That's what happened. They sent the substitute check in the mail because it's an instrument. Well, I was not going to use theirs, so what I did was I scanned it in, and then I printed it out on legal size paper and authenticated the printout, not theirs, but the printout. They look the same, but they're not the same. One of them I created, and one of them they created. I didn't use their creation because I don't trust them. I'm not in trust with them. I know it came from the system. I know that. But at that time, I just felt, I'm just going to print it out and authenticate what I printed out. I didn't know that I could use that to establish accounts at different places. Like if I will to establish account at Office Depot to get office supplies, I could take that substitute check that I printed out and authenticated and set up a $27,000 account. Or if I will to set that account up at the grocery store, I could have done that. Or if I will to set that account up at someplace else, anywhere. And the thing about substitute checks is that you can print out as many substitute checks as you will to print out. Once you receive one of them, you can print out as many as you will to print out and start setting up accounts everywhere for that amount. At the time, I didn't know that because that was my first time receiving a substitute check. Now we know what to do with substitute checks is we have to, and this is the shortening of the process. I pulled up the depository agreement and I looked at what it says about checks and substitute checks and all of that. And then I had to restate what was said about checks and substitute checks so that our system would be established according to our procedures. So to shorten the time period where legacy accounts are concerned, we suggest that you restate the depository agreement for whatever banking system you've nationalized. And once you go through that thing and restate, you can start creating instruments and sending those instruments and watching the system do what you said do. But see, the system, it looks at what you wrote, at the procedures that you wrote, and it will do exactly as you have stated, what you have to state it. Because we have so much work to do, I've only taken the part about deposits. I took and restated that part from here. I haven't restated the whole thing yet. But as I demonstrate, I go back and look at, okay, the system doesn't know what to do from this. It accepted the deposit, but it didn't know what to do with the deposit after that. So I go back in here and I restate the depository part, the part that tells the system what to do with deposits. And then I send that by government mailing to the system. And that's how we've been handling and governing the legacy account part. It's not a one-time shot. You have to keep telling because you're programming the system. And those who have programming experience know that as you're programming the system, it will do what you say up until where you stop programming. And then when it pauses, you know that it's looking for some more programming. It's looking for another part. So then you look in this depository agreement and you find things about how it should accept your deposit or opening a deposit account or withdrawals or electronic banking services, etc., funds availability. You go in and you restate that part. Look at number 46, death or incompetence, because they're the same, almost. In other words, the system won't do anything with that. So you have to go in and change that part to say what it should do, what the system should do. Either change it, take it out, or just wait until the Spirit tells you what to write for that. Okay?
When it's a new account, and so the bank, I'm thinking the bank is going to actually issue the account number. And then therefore, that account number now is being printed on a check. So how?
Okay, so if you don't have an account with that banking system and you will to establish an account with that banking system, you can always establish an account with your state security number.
Oh, that's even better.
Always. That's how you establish anything, is with your state security number. Anything that you're the fiduciary for and that you govern.
So now, how did you make your own check?
into
how much?
WordPad. Oh, this is what I did the first time. The first few times that I made my own check, I scanned in the checks that I had received from the previous era, and then I went and just restated everything. I spelled everything out because they don't have stuff spelled out on those type of checks. They don't have they use 2-letter states and all of that stuff. I erased all of that stuff out and put it in the way it should be. Everything spelled out. I nationalized the logo. I used the right font at the bottom to put the bank account number and the routing number.
Right, the knicker?
Yeah. And for some of them, I didn't even use electronic ink or magnetic ink rather. For some of them, and the system still accepted it because there's affidavit that goes with it.
Oh, perfect.
All of her checks have bounced. None of it has worked. They've all bounced.
They lie like the devil. Not one of them, not one has bounced. Not one. They were all accepted by the system. Now the system then says, okay, the deposit was noted according to what you wrote. Now what happens from here? What happens with the money from here? So then we go back to this document right here and we say, okay, we're going to look at, now, Justice Anthony, you asked about signing people on to your legacy account. So then you would go here and look at authorized signers here on here. It says authorized signers right there. You would go in and you look at what they've written and then you correct what they've written, because everything they write is going to have some fraud in it somewhere, or something that's not properly stated, or something that's incompetent. And so you just do your study and then restate whatever it is.
That's good inference.
Islam. So again, we are putting the procedures and the laws on the public record. Here it talks about using your account. But again, Empress Imani, here is talking about how to open the account. Identification, information requests, and all that. So you'll just go here and you will restate that according to your will and your bank. I'm going to put the link to this document in the chat. And you can change the name of the banking system and then just go ahead and go about restating this document and use it as your agreement, your depository agreement. You're agreeing with the system. And it's not that you're agreeing with the system, you're putting the system in alignment with your will, is really what it is. So we replace the word agreement with affidavit.
So now will there be like a letter of affirmation that the account is ready to be used or anything like that, or?
Generally, when something like that happens, they will, the system will send something to the all caps Imani in black ink and capital letters, and it's going to be up to you to use your sovereign filter to rebut that according to, again, what you wrote. So the Imani in all capital letters in black ink, they may send a letter stating that they may say, we were unable to open this account because of this. And then at the top of the letter, they will give a number for that transaction. They'll say this transaction has been suspended and this is the transaction number. That's really the account number. But see, you have to know that. And then you have to restate that number. And then say, okay, this is my account. This is my account number. Because what they're doing is they're really handing you an account number. But you have to know that it's not a refusal. It's a refusal to put you in as a citizen. then because you're the bank, you put yourself in as the owner of the account. That's been the case with everything that we do. Is we've had to state, no, we're not the citizens of that. We're actually the owners of these accounts. So when the system gives you back a number, it's going to be an account number that fits the system. Because what you're doing is you're turning the system inside out. It's been backwards from day one, really. But you have to know how to interpret that. It's been backwards from day one to fit the inferior status of corpses, really. Corpses.
Islam.
Islam.
Now, I have one last question. This is relative to something that in my notes that I ran across,
Mm-hmm.
and it says that the liens and the affidavits should be uploaded to this website, which is sos.wa.gov. Did I misinterpret anything?
You can upload it there if you will to. That's the quote unquote Secretary of State for Washington or WA.gov. That's what that website is that you just stated.
But it's not necessary.
But it's not necessary. It's actually better that you put it on a different place of your choosing. Because
I didn't want to go through that process.
Yeah, their process is not even going to work. It doesn't even work. They don't have any money to shift to lien or shift, or they don't have anything like that. That's why we don't use it.
Thanks, because it was just in my notes, and then I was trying to figure out, okay, but why? When I don't know, it was the energy that I was picking up from it, and I'm like, no, I don't think so.
Well, it's a good place to go and just to look to see what can be restated.
Yeah, I would probably do that.
Yeah, you can restate anything there.
Okay.
It's a good way to learn the process of how the process works, but then you have to know that the process has to be restated by the real government, which is us, all of us.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the same thing we're stating about this banking process is the system will hand you a bank account number, easy, but the words will say, we could not open this account because whatever reason, and then it will give a transaction number that they assigned to the refusal to open it.
Right.
Well, the refusal to open it is actually, the sovereigns can take that number and use it as the account number because we know that the system created a number that it understands. In order to refuse it, it had to create a file number. The file number and an account number is the same thing. So if you get a refusal from a system and it's in all capital letters in black ink and it says, Pauline Ritchie, if it says that in all capital letters in black ink and it says we could not open this, this transaction has been suspended because we could not open the account, and then it'll have a 9-digit number next to it as the transaction number, we already know that, okay, we can use that number as the account number. We've done that many times with Chase credit cards and things like that. We're the creditor. So it will say, we could not open this account because we didn't have enough information. The transaction number for this suspended transaction is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We know that already, that all they're doing is identifying how the language that the system understands, and then we just restate that number, and then send 100 million in dolarium to that with the fiduciary with a lien on Chase, those acting as Chase, and we know we got a card that's got 100 million on it.
But we don't necessarily have to deposit the entire 100 million, right?
You can pick whatever amount you will to deposit.
Perfect, okay.
You can send one gold coin or one silver coin. Or you can say there's 666 trillion on the public record, and here's a lien and a levy and a bond, and this bond is worth 50 million or 20 million or 10 million, however much you will to have on the card. And then you create the card, which we've done that. We've shown you our Target. We have a Target card, we have a Chase card, and we have and then we have our merchant card, which is a Visa. And each one of them, it's printed on the card how much is available on there. On our merchant card, it's $100 million. And now what we're doing is matching up the numbers on the merchant card with the bank account and the banking system. So all we're doing, and in order to do that, what do? We look back at this that's on the screen. We look at it and see how it'll say something about accepting deposits, or let's see, where would it say something about the cards? Here at number 11, here page 11, it says debit card authorization holds or available balance and things like that. We would go in and we would just change that according to our will. But you're going to be looking at the process. All you have to do is make the process a valid process for creditors. And then you send it. And as you send it and demonstrate, the system is going to do what it's supposed to do. I'm just telling you now, it's going to do that. As you create the process and the procedure by court action, the system, and then you demonstrate it and you send an instrument, and then you just watch and wait to see what the system says. And if it doesn't say anything, you keep going. You look at the process again and you say, okay, I will to access or open this online. I want to see online what's happening with the account. Then you go to that part on here about opening it, and then so you'll have to open it, and then you'll have to go on to the part about online activities, which would be here, electronic banking services. So it will be number 37, access devices, records of your transactions. So you look at that and then you restate that and send it. And when you send it, the system will open up according to your will. I'm watching it happen right now. I could show you a large amount in the account that we're doing what we're stating here. We just look at this depository agreement, restate it, and then watch the system. And then the system will do something. What it doesn't do is deny deposits. It won't do that. In fact, over the last 30 days, I sent something about how deposits should be handled, and deposits started coming from everywhere. Deposits that I didn't even, I had no dealings with that, and like interest deposits and things like that started coming from everywhere. So now I have to go in and clarify how things should go. Because see, no deposit is supposed to come through there if it doesn't have my wet ink signature on it. You know, so the system will do as you program it to do for you.
I have another question.
Islam.
Is it possible that I could, or we could connect, as it relates to this?
Mm-hmm.
And because I do need your assistance in a matter, and I just rather not state it here.
Okay, and I would prefer that the language be that you will to, not that you need our assistance, but you will to have our assistance.
Oh, well, you know. I am still working on.
I know if it's, I know.
Not a problem, because I don't have any issues whatsoever in, the correction,
Yeah,
none. Because I'm learning, I'm in that learning stage. So yes, I will to have your assistance if it's possible,
sure,
in this matter, and I'd rather not state it here.
sure. No,
And,